What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Headline Show. I'm your host, Sean Davis. We got some massive news to talk about on today's show. The Damian Lillard trade saga is finally complete. I'm going to talk about it as ultimately kind of be four teams involved in this Damian Lillard saga. That includes a Jrue Holiday trade. Well, two Jrue Holiday trades, technically. He's involved in the deal that gets Dame to Milwaukee. Then Portland decides to ship Jrue Holiday out as well. But we're going to talk about that. Before we get started, a quick reminder, please do subscribe right here to the Sports Headline Show's YouTube channel. Ring that post notification bell. I'm going to kind of dive in here from all four teams' perspective. So let's start this off with the Milwaukee Bucks. And I love this deal from the Bucks' perspective. This is, dealing with a superstar 101 or a small marketing 101 if you're a small market NBA team where you have a superstar, you just kind of lay it all out on the table and say, you know what, we're not going to be conservative. We're going to use our draft picks to go get better players. They did it to get Jrue Holiday initially, which ultimately led to them winning a championship in 2021. And they're doing it again now. And, there were reports about Giannis being a little upset with the direction of the team. And Mike Budenholzer gets fired after a disappointing playoff run last season. And they decide to just lay it all out there. So, you know what? We don't care about the picks in the future right now. We're not going to get any massive star to help you in free agency. So let's just go trade for a guy that's still a top 8 offensive player, if not better, in the NBA right now, in Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's a guy that is an elite three-point shooter, obviously. We already know that. Probably the second best three-point shooter of this era. It's him and Steph Curry. The pull-up ability, the clutch timeness. That's not even a word, but you know what I mean. Just there's very few players in the NBA currently that I'd rather have the ball in their hands in crunch time than Damian Lillard. So kudos to Milwaukee for that. And then also, he has it from all three levels. He is a great finisher, a willing playmaker, can hit the mid-range shot as well, obviously. Damian Lillard is now going to add to one of the most potent, already one of the more potent offenses in the NBA. Now, like I said, in crunch time, in the playoffs, it's no longer going to be a who gets the ball. How much do we trust Giannis down the stretch? You don't want to have to fully rely on Chris Middleton with his injury concerns. Now, it's get the daggone ball to Damian Lillard and let him go to work. That can win you playoff games, as it's shown in the past for Portland when Damian Lillard's been to the playoffs. So I love the deal for Milwaukee. At the very least, it extends your championship window by a year to 2, even if Damian Lillard sucks. Giannis is more than likely to try to get an extension done now that they're actively trying to improve this team and give him star talent. More than likely to get an extension done quicker. And as long as Giannis is tied up here, I think they're going to continue to work on getting him a really, really good team. Let's talk about this trade from Portland's side of things. The next best thing, in my opinion. And this is my second take. I had to re-record the first video because I had to kind of backtrack, especially after the second Jrue Holiday trade. Because now you look at the grand totality of this deal for Portland, and I really like this deal for the Portland Trail Blazers. You ultimately, for Damian Lillard, an aging, albeit still superstar, on an egregious contract. And this massive contract. It's not egregious. It makes sense given the star power, but this massive contract and for an aging superstar. This is legitimately a good haul. You get 3 firsts, 2 swaps, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, and Malcolm Brogdon. And Malcolm Brogdon might be a trade, or not might be. This definitely feels like a December 15th or trade deadline deal where they might get another swap or another first round pick thrown in that deal. And one thing that I can't say that I agree with what my previous version of this video said was that the best thing about this deal, well, now including the picks, is this is Scoot Henderson's team, and I am so excited to watch the Portland Trailblazers play basketball this year, man. I really do believe that, mean that. Scoot was my second graded player in this year's draft class. I've evaluated NBA draft prospects for 3 years now. He's my second highest player I've ever evaluated through 3 years, obviously. So I'm a little new, if that makes sense. But Scoot, you have Scoot, Shannon Sharp, who I love. I think he's going to be a guy that I mentioned in my breakout videos that's going to come out soon. Anthony Simons, who's just a really good guard. Jeremy Grant, who is on that's an egregious contract. DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Matisse Thybulle. They got some dudes here in Ryan Rupert, who's like one of my guys. Chris Murray. They got some dudes here in Portland, and I'm super excited about this build for the Portland Trailblazers around Scoot Henderson going forward. I think I saw a tweet that the Blazers in 3 months have built a better team around Scoot Henderson than they were able to build around Damian Lillard in 12 years, and that's not that far off. So kudos to Portland, man. I love this roster. I love the direction for the Blazers, and time will tell. If I'm right about Scoot, man, like they'll be really good in a few years. Like 2026, I can fully expect the Portland Trailblazers really being something. Let's dive in here from the Phoenix Suns perspective, because this is super, super interesting. What is this narrative that the Phoenix Suns got better here? Since 1990, I'm trying to pull up my tweet. Since 1990, there have only been 2 teams ever to have won an NBA championship that were not top 12 defenses. Those 2 teams were the 2000 and 2001 Los Angeles Lakers, which had Shaq and Kobe, and last year's Denver Nuggets, which happen to have Nikola Jokic, who's the best player in basketball currently. So with that being said, like I want to know where the confidence is coming from for this Phoenix Suns team to be a team that could win a championship this year. Right? Because your best shot at having a good enough defense to compete and win an NBA championship, your best shot at doing that was keeping DeAndre Ayton on the roster, praying that Frank Vogel could get anything out of him. Which, by the way, you go back to the year the Phoenix Suns went to the NBA Finals 2021 when they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, like I mentioned. DeAndre Ayton was great in that title run. He was great, phenomenal for them. So your only realistic shot at doing this thing that I already don't think you're going to do, but like the only real sense of optimism there is for Frank Vogel to unlock DeAndre Ayton, who we've seen him have flashes of brilliance on the defensive side of the floor. Like I said, that 2021 NBA Finals run. And now you throw in Yusuf Nurkic, who's not a good defensive anchor at all. And you got worse defensively, if we're being completely honest with you. He's probably a better offensive player, maybe. Or they'll definitely fit a lot smoother, I think, into what Phoenix is going to want to do in this offense, and especially next to Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, KD. You don't have to give Nurkic a ton of touches. So there's just more touches to spread around to the other 3 offensive engines. But I don't know how they got better. Because like I said, defensively, which is the one thing that I'm like, yeah, how do they win a championship, is lacking. Because if you want to go perimeter defense, cool, everyone wants to say Kevin Durant's a good defender, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal when he tries, apparently it's what somebody tried to tell me on Twitter. You want to like say all these things, but like you're now asking them to do more than they previously would have had to do it, like in a normal system. Now Devin Booker has to guard your opposing second best wing player. Let's say you're facing the Denver Nuggets, who's guarding Jamal Murray, who Yusuf Nurkic is guarding Nikola Jokic. You're guarding the Los Angeles Lakers. Who's guarding Braun? Okogie? Come on now. Yusuf Nurkic is guarding Anthony Davis. KD is guarding Austin Reeves. Like, you start facing these powerhouses. They face the Boston Celtics. KP, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jrue Holiday even you have to guard. Like, who are these guys guarding? And then you just don't have any like promising rim protection that you could have had if you kept DeAndre Ayton. Sure, this team got deeper. They got Grayson Allen, who's a serviceable rotation player in the NBA. You bring in Keon Johnson, and I want to say you add in Nasir Little, who's the other guy in the deal as well. So you got some like decently like okay young guys, but nothing to where I'm like, yay, like this is great or whatever. So I don't know, man. I know I'm like the lowest out of like NBA Twitter than anybody on the Phoenix Suns, but the notion that they got better out of this deal, I think it's ridiculous. And let's talk about this from the Boston Celtics standpoint. And I have a tweet at Sean_DAVI on X or Twitter, whatever, that I have more questions about the Boston Celtics now that I did like 24 hours ago. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I think they got worse. I do still believe that the Boston Celtics are a better basketball team than they were 24 hours ago. But I think it's fair to say you can have more questions about this team. Bigger question, number one, is like you're really relying on like Kristaps to be fully healthy. You're really relying on Al Horford and these guys to be healthy. You're relying on Jrue Holiday to stay healthy for a full season. This offense is going to be really, really good, but it's also going to be really inconsistent because Jason Tatum's knack right now on him is that he is kind of a streaky offensive player with his shot diet, his efficiency, his playmaking is kind of inconsistent. Same with Jaylen Brown. And now Jrue Holiday is here, and Jrue Holiday isn't this consistent rock as a table setter. Now, in a playoff series against the Milwaukee Bucks, you probably have the best guy possible to guard Damian Lillard in a 7-game playoff series in Jrue Holiday. But I would also like to add, the last time Jrue Holiday and Damian Lillard met in a playoff series, that 2018 season, was also the last time we saw Damian Lillard before he really just became this unguardable pick up from full court type of dude. And while Jrue Holiday is still an elite perimeter defender, he's not as elite of a perimeter defender that he was at that current time. So I don't know. I do have some question marks about this Boston Celtics teams, but if Tatum can be consistent, like just a rock, they need somebody offensively that you just know what you're getting from on a game-to-game basis. I feel a lot better about that Celtics team. And I wouldn't leave out like the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Cavs are the only other team that in the East could challenge the Bucks or the Celtics. It's going to take Garland like re-breaking out, if that makes sense, because I think we saw Garland's breakout, and then he kind of had to get adjusted to play next to Donovan Mitchell, which he was still great last season, but like the re-breakout to the national media, I think you're going to have to see that again next season. And I think we're going to have to see the Evan Mobley breakout to where he is a consistent force offensively. If those two things happen, I like the coaching. I like they have solid depth. Donovan Mitchell is a superstar, whatever word you want to use there. They're the only other team. Otherwise, I think unless injury happens, you're getting Boston versus Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. So for the most part, I'm generally positive for all the teams here. Like, I think there's something you can walk away with here from all four teams. I think Portland, they got younger. I mean, they got draft picks. Portland really, I think greatly about with this deal. Milwaukee, they got another superstar that you can turn the ball to in the fourth quarter when it's winning time and say, win us the game. And they kind of had that in Chris Middleton, but Chris Middleton's a little bit more unreliable at this stage of his career. Boston, I do think got better, although I do have a little bit more questions about Boston currently than I did, like I said, 24 hours ago. And then Phoenix, I think they got deeper, like in air quote, like they got Nurkic, who I think will be an easier like plug and play fit to what this offense is going to want to accomplish. Grayson Allen's a solid rotation player. and I guess it got a little bit younger. So there's my full breakdown of the Damian Lillard trade saga. Ultimately, the biggest loser here is the Miami Heat. So sorry, Heat fans, but comment down below. What are your thoughts on this whole trade saga as it's now complete? Who's the biggest winner and loser from this trade? Follow me on Twitter at Sean_DAVI. We got a bunch of great content here on the channel on the way. So stay safe. See you guys next time. Peace out.